Good morning, afternoon or evening, depending on when you're actually watching this. I hope you're all well. My name's John Harrison, and in normal times, before this strange world that we live in evolved, we'd be meeting in the lovely spa at Bridlington, and I'd be demonstrating from the main stage. The short demonstration that follows is, hopefully, will explain my way of working in line and wash, which is very different from the traditional pen and watercolour paintings that you may be familiar with. I don't consider that I'm a painter by any shape or form, but what I do is to start with a line drawing. I just happen to have one here in a sketchbook. Start with a line drawing, look, done in ink, fine liner, and because of the way I work, it's got to be waterproof ink. I do the drawing and then I'll add some colour to it, so it ends up looking like, I should have had this prepared, sorry, looking something like that, where I use the selected areas of colour to focus your eye, the viewer's eye, on a place that I choose. So hopefully this film, the scene I've chosen is one that's typical of the Yorkshire Dales. It's a barn in Upper Swaledale, I think this one is. And it's got everything I love. It's got dry stone walls in it, it's got nice brickwork. So hopefully I'll be able to get into some nice stone textures with wet and pretend that I'm a painter, despite what I said earlier on. So I hope you enjoy the short film, and we can't have any interactive questions, but if you've got any questions, I'm sure that the Outways people will be able to transmit any questions from you to me via my website, email, or you can find me on Instagram, just look at my name, or all over the social internet web pages, because despite my advanced age and the rather strange lockdown haircut, I am quite savvy with all this internet stuff. So there you go, enough about me, and thanks for watching, and hopefully it's not going to be too long before we all can meet up again. Enjoy the demonstration. Okay, here we are. As it says on there, greetings from Yorkshire. There we go, that's me. So here's the barn, here's the reference picture I'm going to be doing. It's a nice traditional barn. Well, it's not traditional because it's unusual. There are 3 doors in this one, which is quite grand actually, and they're quite narrow. Picked this because it's got lots of lovely stone detail and a bit of a dry stone wall there that's running up to it. Some there. Bit of context, although I'm not too bothered about the stuff around here. It's this I want to feature. So without any further ado, let's crack on. I'll just tell you a little bit about the paper I'm using is Saunders Waterford. It's 300 gram, and it's a rough texture because I love the way, you'll see when I get to the paint stage, you'll see how you can create some lovely textures with the rough finish in a dry brush. I also like the way it behaves with the pen line. The rough texture kind of breaks up your line. It makes the line a lot more characterful. And the only thing I've done in preparation is to give myself a rough, it's about A4 look. For some reason I couldn't draw directly onto this is quarter imperial. Couldn't do it. I need some kind of framework. So what I'm going to do is start now, and what we'll do is roughly, I'm holding the pen a long way up the barrel, so it's I'm after this lovely characterful line. I'm always disappointed when I get a nice straight line on one of these drawings. So this is an odd kind of ridge tile. There must be something to do with weatherproofing. So let me make sure I've got that. Yes, that's about right. You can't go wrong with the old-fashioned measure, you know, the old doing this thing. And I like to, when I'm doing one of these pieces on a board, I like to kind of almost pretend that I'm out in the field. What you can't see is that I'm actually more looking at the reference photograph than I am. I'm just doing a bit of scaling there, rudimentary scaling. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I've gone straight in with a pen. So let's make sure that that's about the right proportion. Prefer not to do a pencil underdrawing because I think a couple of reasons. It takes too long because you know, life's too short to do the same drawing twice, I think, which you would do in traditional pen and wash. You'd do a pencil underdrawing, put your watercolour on, and then perhaps go round it in pen or put some pen detailing in. I prefer to do it this way around, and it's for this reason that the pen I'm using, it's a Unipin fine liner, and it's actually got waterproof ink in, because obviously if I had water soluble ink in, let's have a look. The watercolor afterwards, the ink line from a water soluble pen would tend to bleed, and it'll muddy the colors up. And it's a great technique if you want to use do a monotonal study, because you use the pen and you use the just use water to pull out tone. So you know, it's a great technique in itself. But if what you're after is a nice drawing with some nice clean light watercolor washes, and they're all muddied by bleeding ink from your pen, it's not that clever, not that desirable. Let's put this other door in. This one's slightly higher than the one on the left hand side. They are very narrow doors, these, and there's a massive keystone there. Should have mentioned earlier on, well, I should have mentioned before now, that one of the things that I strive not to do is to slavishly copy well, you shouldn't do. You'll drive yourself mad if you try and depict every single stone, brick, whatever, in the reference picture, because number one, your drawing will end up looking sterile and overworked, and a lot more like a technical drawing, an architect's technical drawing. So I'm just putting this in here. You see, not a straight line, because there aren't any straight lines. It's they're vertical, but they're not actually straight. I'll just put that's kind of the top line of the grass. I like to do this because it gives me, there you go, gives me an idea of where, there for instance, that's going to be a brick, and we'll do another one there. I'm making a lot of this up. I'm not, like I say, I'm not exactly copying the stuff on there. I'm certainly not going to see there's a window in there that I'd almost forgotten. Really glad I saw that. And at this stage, I'll just put some some hatching in pen to remind myself that's kind of a window opening or whatever it is. And we'll do that. Now then, above this one, there's these really weird, like gable shapes for almost like shelter. I'm not sure what they are. I've not seen these on a barn before, but what they do is give it's a great thing because there is some light on the picture, and there's another. It's going to be another kind of window there with a long stone underneath it. I'll try and, if there are some significant stones on there, something of a particularly large or noticeable nature, I'll pick those out, but you know, no, I'm not going to, well, I sincerely hope. I see there's another one. There's another little window, tiny little thing. I'll put these in the black pen, but you see, even if I go back in, time and time again, there's still white space showing in between the lines. So I'll put some paint in there when we come to the paint stage. There's another vertical slit there, and then about there's one. There's one in direct line with that one, and then there's another one there. I really wish I could tell you about the why this barn's like this. I really wish I knew a bit more about it. I should have done more research. Sorry. So let's get back up here, and let's put some. When I'm kind of choosing what stones to feature, I tend to draw in most of the ones that are to the end. Otherwise, because that it gives it a bit more weight and it looks a bit more believable. I'll bring them up to the doorway. There, that one there. These are actually, looking at the reference photograph, these are actually really fairly regular shapes. Put some grass on there, and there's the grass to one side. There's a bit of a wall behind, and I'm doing that sketchily. And this is another technique I like to use. I do this at the end, but I like to do a bit now just so you can get an effect, which is to emphasize the line there. And I'll do the same at this side. But funnily enough, at this side, just coming back over, there's some quite large stones there. And the beauty about these is let's just say you can kind of make up your own, because nobody's ever going to look at that and say, oh well, that's wrong, that's in the wrong position. These doors are actually timber, but I'll put the timber, the lines of the timber in after the colour wash that I put on. See, and that's going to be darker under there because the light's coming from that direction. As is this one, but I'll do this with I'll do it with paint. I'll put the shadows in with paint because we'll be here for a good couple of hours if I try and do the shadowing in pen, because it's a really fine nib and it'd take forever to shade them in. There we go. Let's have a few more. Let's do the end of this building there. Right, and then about there, it's just set back, so I want to get a nice heavy line there. You see, I alter my grip on the pen. I'm up here to do these really loose, really sketchy drawings, but when I want this look, I can I grip it further down, and I'm applying, what you can't see, that I'm applying a bit more pressure with the pen. Let's go back up to the roof, because I've neglected the roof. We'll do the same emphasis along there. And I'm just looking at these. Again, don't fall into the trap of trying to draw every single roof tile. As I say, you want your impression, your interpretation of the building itself. So you don't want to. Now, you don't want every stone. I'm sorry to keep harping on about that, but you just need to feature certain patches of stone. Don't forget these little windows they'll be filled in with some paint, darker paint, to give them a bit more weight and depth. So I'm doing this in a lighter pen now, sketchy, because it's just giving the barn some context. It's not the main feature, as it were. So we'll do this. Put the big corner keystone in. We'll put some. Again, I'm making this. I'm loosely basing it on the actual picture, but speed is of the essence. Now we'll put a line across there, because that's where the top of the field is, and so this one, we'll just make it up there. I tend to like to feature the drawn stonework around windows and openings, so it just gives you a bit more interest around there. It's like, well, it is framing them, isn't it? It's a window frame, so it's framing, but otherwise these little features here, they just look like random dots in the structure, random spaces. So of course, as you go up to the roof, it's at such a steep angle. The lines, the horizontal lines of the slates will get closer together. So, right, we need to practice what I preach and put some more around here. Not all the same, because otherwise they look like, it just looks like a pattern that you've decided just to place on there. Actually, looking at the photograph, which I've got the benefit of, and you can't, these seem to be the size of the stones are fairly regular and narrow, more like the kind of cladding you get on some new build houses rather than a proper Dale's field barn. But hey ho. And I'm going to fill that in because there's no reason for that not to be filled in. And this, and I'll join that window up with there. Similarly, just join that up with the edge of the building there. And at the moment, all of these stones are all the same weight. But again, one of the finishing touches I'm going to put on when I've got the paint on, and when the paint's dry, of course, is to use some heavier lines to give a bit more weight and definition to the bricks, because they are a 3D shape at the moment. They just look fairly flat. So I'll tell you what, do you know what, will come up there and we'll join that there. Join these are actually bigger, which I think building terms, I think they would be towards the bottom of a structure. They would be bigger and heavier and narrower as you increase. Do you know what, I'll just put some very faint lines in just to show where the timber doors are. There's no pressure being applied there. It's just literally as the pens skipping over the paper. In other words, I'm adding no weight there. So let's put some more stones around there. So I think at the moment I'm getting near the end of the initial drawing stage, and I don't know how long I've been drawing now. I haven't kept an eye on the time. Probably 15 to 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is call that the end of stage 1, and we'll resume with stage 2, which is the addition of watercolour washes. My graphic design background keeps fighting its way to the fore, in that when I get to this stage in a drawing, even though I said, look, we'll leave it, we'll call that stage 1, I do kind of like to leave a drawing before I add any colour, so that the drawing could stand on its own merits, even though all we've got is the indication of a skyline there in the background. But that could stand on its own. So in other words, if I'm suddenly run out of steam or artist block, it could stand on its own as a line drawing, although it couldn't there. See, under there, just trying to think. Let's add some more, because it looks a bit empty and weightless under there. So there you go, that's definitely the end of stage 1. That's the line drawing, and I've deliberately shifted it across to the left. Not enough, in my opinion, now I come to look at it, because I hate stuff it's one of the compositional basics that you should never have anything, unless unless you want it for a design decision to be central. I and then you're allowed to, but it's got to be smack on and accurate. But stuff should be off center, or to the, certainly in the rule of thirds. But for this one, I've just shifted it off center. I think what I'm going to do there is, see, I'll put some, this is just set back slightly from the building itself. So what I'm going to do, just to hint at, I'm just going to put some shading in that might just tantalizingly give you a hint of what it might look like. But the real shadow action is going to be with paint, and it will kind of pull these forward, because they are proud. The shot's kind of straight on, so you don't see any, I'm not sure if there's any actual depth, but we'll see what happens when we return for the next stage, which is going to be the addition of paint. Okay, there we are, end of stage 1.